Welcome everyone to Solaris Resources. My name is Dan Earle. I'm the president and CEO. Solaris is a copper growth and discovery story. What you have here in this company is a very special portfolio of assets that was taken on by the Augusta Group with the goal of surfacing the maximum value and then selling these projects as we advance and get deeper into the copper cycle. Now, if you're not familiar with the Augusta Group, it has a totally unrivaled track record of value creation in the mining sector, specifically in this niche of exploration and development. So this totals over $4.5 billion of exit transactions in the last decade, and a further $4 billion of investment-driven gains. So this includes transactions like selling Ventana Gold for $1.6 billion in 2011, Augusta Resource Corp for $670 million in 2014, and then co-founding Equinox Gold in 2017, which now has over a $3 billion market cap. And then most recently selling Arizona Mining for $2.1 billion in 2018. And it's that latter transaction at the $2 billion mark that we hope to eventually eclipse with this company if we can execute on our strategy. So how do we go about doing that? Well, it's the same solution that we've always applied. So it starts with a world-class asset, which we have here in our flagship Warintza project in Ecuador. This was a high-grade open pit discovery made by the late great David Lowell in the early 2000s that we came in and revitalized by restoring its social license in the wake of the good work that Lundin had done in Ecuador to the south of us. And Lundin's a strategic supporter of ours. We then go about fully funding our program through to the eventual point of sale. And we've done that with over $90 million in cash on treasury now, and a further $90 million in warrant proceeds in this company, most of which are owned by management and our strategic supporters. And then the easy part really is drilling out the discovery that was made for us by David Lowell in the Warintza Central Zone. And the threshold that most people define for a world-class copper project is a billion-ton resource with high grades in an open pit. And then going about de-risking that through the technical programs that we've started under the direction of Chad Woolahan, our VP of Projects. Now, Chad, we hired from Ivanhoe Mines. And with their flagship Kamoa project in the DRC, he took that through PEA, through feasibility, and into detailed engineering. That's a $5.5 billion net asset value project, a true tier one mega project. And he set it up beautifully to now transition into pre-production as it is. So we brought in Chad to do the same project for us at Warintza, and he's already gotten started on the various technical tasks that need to be completed to do just that. So a little bit more about Warintza. You can see on the map here that it's located in southeastern Ecuador. This is the main mining region of Ecuador, with the first two mines coming online late last year and more to come into the future. So these are located 40 kilometers down the highway from us. You can see Fruta del Norte there. This is operated by Lundin Gold. And then to the north of that, Mirador, which is operated by a Chinese joint venture. And we benefit in our location from all the same primary infrastructure that those mines do. And this is a huge advantage here. It really can't be overstated in terms of the savings, billions of dollars versus a typical project in the producing regions of Chile and Peru, where really a third of the world's copper production is coming from. So these benefits are the connection to the highway system for logistics, which we completed that connection late last year. And then the access to the national power grid, which is cheap, clean hydroelectric power in this case. And then, of course, the most important, the abundant fresh water that we have access to on our project site. So there are two porphyries that are located next to us. These are San Carlos and Panatza. Together, these are about 1 billion tons, but you can fit them inside of the footprint of our central zone to give you an idea of the scale that we're working with. You can see in the 3D image the historical drilling that was completed by David Lowell in the early 2000s. That was limited to a depth of about 200 meters. And then our drilling colored over top of that, where you can see that we've extended the mineralization to depth anywhere from 600 to 1,000 meters depth with similar sorts of grades, the highest grades right from surface, and then high grade mineralization right down the drill holes. Now we've laid out a drill program of 40,000 meters which is going to cover off a 1 kilometer strike length of this deposit at Central in the first half of the year. And we're going to drill that 1 kilometer strike length down to a 1 kilometer depth. So what we're talking about in terms of a volume here is 1.4 billion tons of rock that we're going to have drilled off. And the eventual resource that we publish, it'll be whatever subset of that volume is mineralized above our cutoff grade and fits inside an open pit shell. And keep in mind the context of what the best open pit copper projects available globally would look like in terms of resource inventory. So these would be projects like Anglo American's Quellaveco project in Peru. That's sitting at about 1.3 billion tons at 0.57% copper, or even Tech Resources QB2 project in Chile. This is 1.4 billion tons at 0.48% copper. And both of these are true mega projects, plus $5 billion CapEx due to the infrastructure, the elevation, the lack of fresh water, and so on. And so that's what we're talking about in terms of the threshold that we need to achieve at Warintza Central to become the top development copper project available globally. And then, of course, we've got the rest of the system. That's really the greater part of the potential of this project that we're going to get to. So you see that here on this slide. What we're looking at is 3D imagery of a geophysical survey that we completed in February. So we've got the results for really the central cluster of porphyries on this project that you see on this slide. But then we're processing the geophysical results for the rest of the property package. And the solids that you see there, those are volumes of highly conductive rock with the conductivity coming from high sulfide content. And you can see in our central zone, we've got a really good correlation between our drilling delivering high volumes of sulfides, high grades in terms of copper, and then high conductivity coming from the geophysical survey. And then what you see is basically a continuous anomaly from the west through the central zone where all of our drilling is located, and then out to the east zone. So that's a 3.5 kilometer long span there for this geophysical anomaly. And that's encompassing something like a 10 billion ton volume of highly conductive rock that we need to get in and drill test. Now, the only drilling that we've done outside of Central was the single hole at Warintza West, and that resulted in a discovery. So that first hole at Warintza West that you see on the left side of the image there, that returned 800 meters of 0.31% copper equivalent and 260 meters of 0.42% copper equivalent, all from surface. And that entire interval is outside of the high conductivity anomaly. Lower sulfide content, lower grade, doesn't produce the conductive response that we're getting in this anomaly with the high sulfide content and the high grades in the drilling that you see at Central. So the first step for us is drilling the area between Central and West, so stepping out to the west from Central. You can see in the drill holes that we released just recently where we stepped out, we continued to hit 1% copper from surface in the western extension of Central. So we'll continue to do that and continue to step out and add to that inventory of high-grade material that we find on the west side of Central. And then we'll target Warintza East, so stepping out to the east for 1.5 kilometers of the central zone. And then we'll follow that up with drilling at Warintza South. And Warintza South is an entirely separate target, much larger than we previously understood from the geochemical work that we'd done at surface, which was really just mapping the portion of that system that you see in the geophysics that comes close to surface down in the valley in that location. But the overall volume of the high conductivity solid that we have at South, representative of the high sulfide content in this system, is 5 billion tons. So it's an enormous target in its own right. So altogether, what we're talking about is 10 billion tons of high conductivity anomaly at west through Central to east, and then 5 billion tons at South, 2.5 billion tons at Yowie, which is a new target that we identified through this geophysical survey. So 17.5 billion tons of geophysical anomaly that we need to get in and drill test. And remember, again, the reference of the best open pit copper development projects in the world right now. Quellaveco is only 1.3 billion tons. QB2 is only 1.4 billion tons. So that's what we need to exceed with Warintza Central if we want to take over that mantle as the best, the largest and the highest grade open pit copper development opportunity available globally. And the rest of the drilling, the high impact drilling that we're going to do over the first half of the year, the extension of Central to the west, the extension of Central out to the east, Warintza East, and then the discovery drilling that we'll be doing at Warintza South and Yowie. This is all upside beyond that. So that's Solaris Resources and our Warintza project that we're focused on in the first half of the year. If you'd like to find out more about us, please visit our website and get in touch with us directly. Thank you so much for your time.